the little things.
Mic check.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the September 2021 Village Board meeting. To start our meeting, I'd like to ask you to rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
Where's the flag? Oh, there. Oh, it's over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. So we were off in August, and they redid the floors, and I did not see that they didn't put the flags back up front. So note to self, flags back up front. We'll start this evening's agenda with our department reports. Everybody was given a Altamont Fire Department report, and if you don't have any questions with that, everybody good on that so far? Yes. Okay, just checking in. Public Works, Jeff, do you have some stuff for us tonight? Yep. Thanks. Oh, you can put it high. It was really high earlier.
I want to mention we're starting meter readings this week. So if you see our guys are running around in your backyards, that's what they're doing. We're going to be starting our hydrant flushing at the beginning of next month, so that'll be in play before our next board meeting. What else? We're supposed to micropave Lark, Lincoln, and J Street this coming Monday. The notices are going out, so anybody that's parked on the street, we're going to have them moved, and hopefully we're going to have them back. I think that's about it. We've got a couple water main leaks that we located. We had Rural Water come out, which we belong to. They came out about a month ago and located anything in our system. We pinpointed two of them up on the hill, so we're going to have to address that in probably the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
I think that's about it. I want to mention too that we've got two major creeks and two smaller creeks that drain the escarpment that come down through the village. And being what just happened down in New York with Ida, if we got an inch of rain in an hour like they did, Altamont would be a mess, because these creeks that normally run empty take on a lot of water. And in years past, we used to have, I think the Girl Scouts would do it, and I think once in a while the Boy Scouts would do it. They'd walk those creeks and let us know, they'd walk through, pick up some branches or whatever's laying around, throw them up on the bank. If there was a tree down, they'd let us know. We tried to monitor these creeks, but I want the residents to remember that the village doesn't own these creeks. It's each individual household that borders these creeks own them.
Okay.
And we've had problems in the past where people use them as like a dump. They throw the leaves in it, figure out it's just going to disappear, the branches is going to disappear. Well, it'll get washed down, plug up culverts, and then back up to the village, which we've had in the past, and cause some serious flooding. We just had the spring problems out on the boulevard, and that was part of the problem. Leaves, not just from people, but further up on the escarpment, the leaves would come down, get washed into the creek, and congregate down where.
Is that when the state came out to assist with that one? Okay.
But I just want to remind everybody, don't throw things in the creek. And, if you have some spare time, you want to go for a walk around the creek beds and
Yeah.
see what you can see. And if you see something major, let us know.
And since we pick up leaves and brush, there's no reason to throw them in the creek, right?
No reason.
No reason.
Still,
Tie up your sticks and
some
put your,
people like to just throw them in there.
yeah. All right, good reminders. I appreciate it.
We have a creek going inside of my house, and normally it's like a little bit of water, but during these major storms, it's like a river running
Yeah,
through.
it is.
And keeping it clear is, as you suggested, is the best thing to do, prevent any more hazards down the road.
I can remember years ago when I was a kid, going back a ways, people on Scary Blank Road couldn't get to their houses.
Right.
They were using canoes.
Right.
I really don't want to use a canoe to get to my house.
She lives down there.
It could happen again,
Yeah.
Water goes downhill.
and we're at the bottom of the hill.
Yep.
Can I just ask, will the guys, or somebody in particular, maybe be reaching out to the schools just to make sure that we're doing our paving project, they're aware we're paving? Okay, just so they have a notice, because buses are gonna start, I guess, this week, so just, I don't know, they may not go down the roads anyway, they may pick up on the corners, I don't know how that works, but,
Yeah, we're gonna talk to the paving company, maybe they can start over on Lincoln
okay,
and stay away from this area with the buses.
yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna be a long time, it's just a little bit of the
No,
time.
it'll be quick.
Yeah,
It'll be a quick process.
okay, excellent, thank you. Anybody else have questions for Jeff? Sorry,
No,
I didn't ask.
thank you.
All right, great, thank you very much. Police Department, do you have a report for us? New chief?
A short one, because I've been there less than a week. But, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Jason Johnston. I just took over the police department as the chief as of the first of the month. Couple of things to go over. Obviously, we've made it through the major event season at the fairgrounds, which is always a thing. Learned some lessons that things we can improve on next year, just with the parking those last couple of days. That had more to do with the bad weather and the mud in the parking lot. So, we'll have to come up with some sort of contingency with the town and us for that for next year. That being said, now that I've taken over, I'm pushing. There's a lot of new things that have to be done for all police departments across the state with all these new regulations and things. So, doing a lot of preparation for training with the guys to make sure we have them all up to speed on all the new developments here. And I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we've had a big uptick in tickets over the last month or so. We do hear the complaints from people, and we're trying to hit the heavy spots as best we can. And I think that's about it.
That's, well, welcome, and thank you very much. That's great. Anybody have any questions, or we're good?
Thank you.
Where are you from? I mean, where's the police department where you from?
I started here in 1997 and worked here for several years, and then I transferred to the city of Cohoes. I worked there, I retired from there after 21 years of service. I was in the detective bureau for 15 of those years, and I rose to the rank of lieutenant there. That's what I retired as of last year, and I've been here since 2013, also working part-time. And I'm from Knox. I grew up on Knoxdale Road. I know a lot of people around here.
Yeah.
Went to high school with several people from the fire department, but yeah.
Decided retirement was boring, so.
I wouldn't want to be back there.
Yeah, there you go. I get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we get to the treasurer's report, I'm going to just talk about one thing quickly. I was informed last week that we have an upcoming anniversary. September 17th and 18th will mark the 95th anniversary of automobile racing at the Altamont Fairgrounds. And this was an important stop on the Automobile Association of America's schedule through 1955. And for our next meeting, we're going to be putting together a proclamation to acknowledge this milestone. Dan Barker, our archivist, he will be here in October, and he's going to talk about Founders Day on October 10th, and he's going to feature this anniversary in a display during this celebration, which is usually like we do a walking tour outside, the museum's open, and we talk about different things with that. And the proclamation can be put in the display as well, so that's coming up. And Mr. Malecki came tonight, and he's going to talk, when we get to public comment, a little bit about some of the, just about the history of that. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that. And looking at the treasurer's report, we've all had a chance to review and sign the vouchers. Could I get a motion to approve the vouchers?
So moved.
John is first, and second?
I'll second.
Tressa? And roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor.
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor.
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. I'm going to open up the microphone to public comment. Feel free to raise or lower the microphone as you need to. If you just share your name with us, and if you have something you'd like to share with the board, now is the time. Feel free to come on up.
My name is Phil. Is that?
You want to, you know what, turn the bottom, maybe we didn't turn, no, it's on, I think. Is the light on?
I almost
No, if you
Oh.
turn it towards
Oh, push that little button for us.
There you go. There you go.
Apologize. Ah,
You had to do it all over again.
all over again. Sorry about that. Go ahead,
My
sir.
name is Phil DeVitro. I'm at 1 Indian Meadows Path. I'm here to talk about sidewalks. Talked to the mayor a couple times about this. Indian Meadow, Indian Maiden, and the houses on Bozenkill. We have really no safe access to the village other than Bozenkill Road and Indian and Maple Avenue Extension. And that's why I want to hear talk, because right now the houses are changing over. We're getting a lot of kids and they're on bikes. And in the village comprehensive plan, we talked about extending the sidewalk from Sunset down Maple Avenue Extension, at least to the path, which is a little over 1,100 feet. And which is a good opportunity, because I don't know if you know this, but the planning board, they're going to be putting 3 houses on Bozenkill Road. And the planning board and the neighbors decided that it didn't make any sense to put 300 feet of sidewalk in front of those houses, because it would go nowhere.
Right.
So the builder said, or the developer said, that he would give us,
Maybe just take a little step back a little bit.
Oh.
Could you,
he would
because you're
give
good,
us
yeah.
$24,000 to put a sidewalk anywhere we'd like to put it. But we have to put a sidewalk somewhere for him to give us the money. So at the planning board, the neighbors were talking, is possibly extending that Maple Avenue Extension sidewalk coming up the road. I know there's a lot of challenges there with the drainage ditch, and but we've discussed this for many years, even if maybe go on the other side of the road maybe, where there's not so much drainage that's there, but I think it's a great opportunity with 24,000. Supposedly, the builder said that's enough to put 300 feet of sidewalk in
Right.
somewhere. I don't know if that's really.
That's about right. Yep.
About right.
Yep.
So I would like the board to consider it.
Well, what we will do, this is good timing, actually. Every year, we extend sidewalks
Okay.
in different spots. We go so many linear feet each budget season. We just did Lark. That road's very narrow. It has no sidewalk
Right.
at all. And we got a grant to do Lark and Fairview, so, because you can imagine it's very expensive to put in sidewalks. So we
Right.
do it a little chunk at a time.
Right.
What I will tell you, though, about that area, which I know, because I live
Yeah,
just
right
down
there.
the street from you, it's been a concern for many years. It's a blind curve, it's all these things. So
Right.
Chief Johnson and I just so happened to have a conversation with Albany County about it. That's a county road, so the filling of the ditch, they maintain, that's not village. We can't make a
Right.
decision on that ourselves. But we actually met with a gentleman from down in Albany County. I reached out to him after our conversation again. I sent him the plan, the picture of that whole Bozenkill Maple Avenue, because
Right.
we do want to have other things, including a sidewalk, changed about that to mitigate all the problems. There's stops and yields that people don't do. And there's a speed issue, then there's the safety issue because there's no shoulder.
Right.
So they responded right away, right back to me. They're sending it out to DPW, and I'm hoping next year, because again, they have to plan for it as well.
Right.
I can get their assistance with this. That's what we're aiming for. But I'll keep you posted. I mean, that's
Okay.
our goal right now because it is their road.
Right. Now, Bozenkill Road, that's
Mm-hmm.
Gilderland?
From one, at the end of Maple
Right,
to there, that little
To,
section, that's Guilderland, but the upper part is Albany County.
right. But all the way to Dunsville, that would be
That's
all
Guilderland.
Gilderland?
Yep.
So if we wanted a sidewalk there, I would have to go to the Gilderland Town Board?
We'd appreciate that, that'd be great. We would love a sidewalk there. They didn't put one in when the development went in, and they
Right.
were in charge of the planning then.
Right.
That is something that I was hoping at the time that they would put a culvert in along that
Right.
road as well.
Right.
So yeah, that could get on their list. They do the same thing as we do, though. They do through grants. Right now,
Right.
they have a grant submitted for Gun Club Road, because that's another spot. We have a lot of these little spots that are
Okay.
tricky.
Right.
But for next year's planning, that would be a good thing to put on their,
Okay.
just on their agenda, or on their list to look at.
All right.
Yeah. So we
All right.
appreciate it, but I'll keep you posted. Well,
All right.
once we know something from Albany County, if we get anything this year, hopefully next year, we'll keep at them though.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Paul Malecki. I live in Albany, New York, and some of the board members and some of the audience will recognize the fact that I somehow gotten interested in the automobile racing at the fairgrounds in Altamont. We're coming up on the 95th anniversary of the so-called big car racing. It was the first time really that automobiles had displaced harness racing at the fairgrounds as a major attraction, which was part of everything happening in the 1920s. The real golden age of racing at the fairgrounds were the 1930s. In many years, they would have 4 different events, starting off with Memorial Day, July 4th, the fair dates, and Labor Day. And you think that this was bringing drivers from all over the Northeast, the people who were leading the competition in the various leagues, to come here on those holidays, you know just by that this was a really big deal on the East Coast. And so I tend to call all of this big cars come to a small town. Technically
Yeah.
a village, but it sounds better when you say it. There were 6 cars that showed up that day, and the Enterprise, as usual, tells you everything about what happened. I have gone through Altamont Enterprise, the Schenectady Gazette, there's other papers in Schenectady, Albany, even the Queens Herald had stories from time to time. And so that I've asked the village if perhaps they might want to somehow participate in this 95th anniversary. And as the mayor said, there's been a proposal to include this as a heritage event. I have talked to a gentleman who lives near Rochester, who is a scholar on all kinds of racing. He has 4 very good photographs that I've never seen before that were taken at Altamont.
Wow.
2 of the driver, Bob Sal, who was very famous here in the 34, 35, 36 era. Another one, Joey Chitwood Jr. Now, most people know the Joey Chitwood Thrill Seekers and everything else, but his father was a famous racer here beforehand. And so that I'm trying to arrange with this gentleman to get these pictures so we have it in the exhibit. I also know, I'm a member of a supporter of the Saratoga Auto Museum, and I know that they have some exhibit material related to racing at Altamont and Lee Wallard, who won the 1951 Indy 500.
Yeah.
So I'll work with all of you here to see if we can't get some real excitement
Yeah, that'd be
generated
great.
about this, because that'll just get us toward the 100th anniversary.
You've talked with, in the past, right, with Dan?
Oh, yes, yeah.
All right, I thought so.
I visited, we've looked
Excellent.
through some of the things that
Excellent,
are
okay.
here. There are some other people in the area, not close, but who have Ken Gibson over the other side of the river.
Sure.
has a lot of material, because his father ran here, and he still has one of these race cars
Yeah.
that they race there. So, yeah.
All right, so I'll reiterate to him to just reach out to you again,
Oh, yeah.
and you guys can talk about that and what we can add to that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. And,
Yeah.
And the thing is, I want to be careful, because I don't want to do police, I don't want to have to meet him in his professional.
That's true. We'll tell him what car you drive, it'll be fine.
It says here that
There you go.
1910, Thursday, 16th of August, 1910, that there was an advertisement for it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of village elders are probably going to be after my skin on this, but there's no evidence that that event ever happened.
Oh, okay.
It's a myth, it's a legend, but as far as I can tell, what happened was that it rained that afternoon, and you can imagine that the fairground managers would not have heavy automobiles tearing up the racetrack just before 2 days of harness racing.
Right.
So unless we can find somebody who's 120 years old, or we can find a diary, a photograph, anything that says they actually saw this event,
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say that there's no
Yeah.
evidence. It was certainly advertised. They were going to offer a $45 prize,
Oh.
which in those days would have been a week's wage for many people.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was never reported, although the Enterprise talks about all the chickens and the pies and everything else, so.
So it probably wasn't. We're all familiar with the fair when it rains, so
Yes.
most things get shut down.
You can't even park.
So,
Can't even park cars.
so again,
Yeah,
Clay soil.
sorry to say that until somebody can actually
prove it.
show us that it
Yeah,
happened, it's a nice bit.
Okay, challenge accepted. No, just kidding. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Looking forward to seeing the exhibit between you and Dan. That'll be great. Where was I? Oh, there we go. Anybody else for public comment? I forgot I'm still at the top. No? All right, excellent. Dan, I didn't see you back there. I apologize. I would have brought you up there. I did not, I didn't look way, way, way back there. Do you have anything you'd like to add? It's okay. Do you have anything you wanted to add, or no? You're good with?
Yeah, I mean, I can go up and speak about Founder's Day.
If you'd like to, sure. Since we've talked about it a little bit. I should look up once in a while. Oh, okay.
Hey, everybody, I'm Dan Barker. I'm the archivist. I work at the museum and the archives. So in 2020, we didn't have a Founder's Day. We had our first one in 2019. And the village was founded on October 18th. And every year, New York State does the New York Path Through History, and that's usually the week before. It's usually around the 10th or the 11th. So I'm going to do a Founders Day event this year on Sunday, October 10th. We're going to work on an exhibit around racing. I was actually looking for stuff last night until pretty late. There's going to be a table set up in Orsini Park. Joe Burke and we have a meeting on Thursday. He would like to do some kind of oral history project on that same day, so he and I are going to figure that out, and I'll have more information about that after he and I meet. But we are hoping some of the folks who've lived here for a long time could maybe stop by the library that day and record just their thoughts about the village or memories about the village. And then I'm also going to do a guided tour of probably like the first 10 or 15 stops on the village and the streets, so, which I'm working on right now. So,
Great.
yeah, I think that's
Sounds
it.
good.
I probably left something out, but
But you can come back to the
Yeah.
October meeting and
I will.
remind us.
Yeah,
so.
no problem. Yep, sounds good.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, Jason, can you do me a favor, since you're out there? Can you turn that microphone off for me? And then we can put trusses back on. There was the feedback was because it's close, I think. I appreciate it. You're a roadie now, too. We didn't tell you that. So the first thing on our agenda, it says discussion waiver of conflict for Young Summer LLC. I'll give a little bit of a brief overview, and then Allison, if I say anything wrong, you'll correct me. And then if you have any questions, I wrote a little bit something down so I would remember all the details here. So Allison Phillips is our village counsel, and she disclosed to the village and to me that her firm, which is Young Summer LLC, was asked to represent Borrego Solar for large-scale renewable projects over 25 megawatts. As folks may remember from probably June or May, we currently, I think it was June, we currently have a 100-day exploration agreement with Borrego Solar for a potential solar project for the village that is under 25 megawatts. Because of that, Young Summer came to us as asking for a waiver of conflict. They would continue to represent the village for our negotiations and agreement should we go forward with Borrego and throughout the project, and would represent for them, they are strictly, her firm is doing the large renewable over 25 megawatts projects, which is not what we're doing. Borrego Solar has waived the conflict, if I'm correct, on their end, right?
Correct.
Is there anything else I want to add to this? I'm trying to, does that about the gist?
That's everything correct, and I'll just add that our firm is not being retained to do the real estate end of Borrego Solar's work, so we wouldn't be negotiating any leases and wouldn't be involved in that, for other clients, and certainly not for the village of Altamont if we'll be representing the village if the village decides to enter into a lease agreement with Borrego. So the firm is doing strictly the permitting, environmental permitting, as Carrie said, for these large-scale renewable energy projects, which are over 25 megawatts. So not involved at all in the real estate side of of what they're doing.
So we have to, just bring it to the forefront and, let everybody know this and then see how you guys feel about this. If you have any questions for Allison. And this came up just recently. So, anybody?
Well, for me, it's the first time I'm hearing of it, so, I mean,
Yeah,
can
no.
you give us something in writing so we can look it over, think about it?
Well, I talked about that. It's just a motion to waive conflict. This is what it is. I mean, this is what I just said. Everything you just said, that's the crux of it. There is nothing, I don't have anything in writing.
So you're asking us to vote on it?
Well, we would either waive conflict if Allison, is there a timeline on it, or is it something if they want to ponder
I mean,
more?
Just for example, like the way you were saying how it's a below 25 megawatt, above 25 megawatt, real estate versus other
Yeah,
parts of
okay.
the.
Yep, just to kind of give an overview and just the timing of this. I think we had been at either the June or July meeting when the board decided to enter into this letter of intent with Borrego, which gave them the 100-day timeframe to do some due diligence on the site and explore whether or not it's a site they would want to try and do a project on. So after the village had entered into that letter of intent agreement, Borrego Solar approached Young Summer about representing them on the permitting of these large-scale renewable energy products. So when they first approached, the village of Altamont was listed as a potential conflict because the village had entered into this letter of intent with Borrego to explore the site in Knox. At that point in time, there was a discussion with representatives of Borrego where they clarified that they wouldn't be looking to Young Summer to represent them on any lease negotiations, and it would just be for these large-scale renewable projects. So with that understanding and the understanding of what they would be looking to do with the village of Altamont, which would be the village kind of acting as a role of a landowner, not a permitting jurisdiction, because the project is in the village of Knox. They were happy to waive the potential conflict to allow me to continue to represent the village if this moves forward and the village decides that it wants to enter into a lease agreement with Borrego after they do this due diligence review. But then on the same side, we want to disclose to the village that Young Summer, they have requested this representation from Young Summer and give the village the same opportunity to evaluate and decide if it wants to waive any potential conflict. Again, just because it is an entity that you are considering entering into a lease agreement with, we want to disclose it and obviously give you the opportunity to say, yes, you want to waive the potential conflict or no.
Is the disclosure with all these details in writing? Is that something we have?
No, it's just, this is what it is. It was just to have a discussion about it
Okay.
tonight. So you're hearing the facts as they are.
Right.
That's it.
Is that something we would get in writing? Because, I mean, to me, waiver means, we're looking to sign off on something. Is that,
Well, you can do it through a motion as well. That's official.
okay.
So that's why it doesn't have to be something I'm signing.
And I suggested we, bring it to the board and put it on the agenda for a public meeting so that the board could
Ask questions.
receive the information, ask any questions.
So I don't know what you're thinking on, And obviously with my updates, that was one thing I must have missed when I was going down the updates for the agenda, like the highlights. I should have, that's on me, honestly. It was long enough by the time I sent it to you. I think we've had a lot of back and forth with so many things that it slipped through me letting you know earlier than that, but it's fairly recent. I mean, it was after, we didn't meet in July either, so.
It's due to the fact that it's under a threshold that there's going to be a potential conflict of interest if we go into contract with
Well, no,
the
they're
Knox
not.
part. Yeah, they're
Ours is not that.
No, ours is
Right.
under, yes.
Yes,
And they're just letting us know this.
exactly. So,
Yeah, it's a potential conflict because Young Summer would be representing the village of Altamont and Borrego Solar, just not in the same transaction, which would be, the village entering into a lease agreement with Borrego and Young Summer representing Borrego on the environmental permitting for other solar projects. But if the board, feels more comfortable, kind of having what I just described in writing, I mean, I can certainly do that. But there's not much, kind of beyond what this disclosure is right now.
So the conflict is just representation between, it's not, we're a different wattage than the
Yeah, they're not
high-profile
representing the
project she's
company.
representing, and they're not
Right.
doing the real estate end of it, so it's basically, we're representing a company that you're in a 100-day period. of
Well, or
evaluating.
any, if we follow through on the project too.
Right, that's my
But
understanding.
it's a different project than
Than what they're
the-
representing.
The firm is representing for, at the other end.
Right.
It's a whole different thing. So that's why so. So, I mean, officially, if you're, depending on if enough people are comfortable with it, I would just say, now, I'm sure I'm gonna mess some of this up as I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. So I basically would ask for a motion to waive potential conflict for Young Summer, working with the village for Borrego Solar, or how, Allison, how would I do that? I'm sorry, I had
think
it.
you would just say waive potential conflict.
I'll get her.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I apologize. I had it written 3 ways, and I kept saying, how do I make this go? So go ahead, what were you saying?
It would just be a simple motion to waive the potential conflict of interest for Young Summer to continue representing the village in any further discussions or lease negotiations with Borrego Solar.
Okay, so would anybody be comfortable making that motion? That's the question. All right, so if not, what's the alternative? What would you like instead? It's something to do with the microphones close together, I have a feeling.
Yeah.
That's the problem, yeah. There you go.
I mean, everything you're saying makes sense and
It makes
seems
sense,
reasonable.
yeah.
I guess, my only pause is, again, we're paying Young Summer to represent our best interests. And one of those things is business with Borrego Solar. Borrego Solar is also paying Young Summer to represent their best interests. So obviously, that's why it's a conflict.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, all I'd like to see is the things that you guys described in writing, because I only wrote down Borrego Solar. That's the extent of my notes I was able to get down. And maybe just a little bit of why or what, if any, steps Young Summer's able to take to reduce or mitigate or limit potential conflicts, right? Like, is it a different staff? Is there firewalls between it? I mean, I have no idea how big Young Summer is, honestly, unfortunately. I mean, is Allison's the one that's gonna be working for them? And kind of outline, like you're saying, it's on the permitting process, not the real estate. So, I mean, again, it's still, the company is paying money, we're paying money, so
Sure.
it's still a conflict. I just think we ought to be able to consider it.
Is that a possibility, Allison, to have it in writing and approve it at the October meeting? Will that still be okay overall? Does that work still?
Yes.
Okay, if you could get us something similar to outlining the details that we've just said, just so we have it?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
At this point, Borrego's still in their kind of exploratory period
Yes.
with the village under the letter of
Yep.
intent that you guys have already entered into. So I think there is time for me to prepare that, give it to the board, and
Okay.
put it on the agenda again.
Yeah, we'll do it October, whatever the first day is, that 5th, I think.
And Allison, maybe also like, what are the other options? If for whatever reason we weren't comfortable, would we hire a different counsel for that one item? Or like, how would we handle if it was a real conflict kind of thing? I don't
Yeah,
know what the
I think-
standards are.
I think that if the board was uncomfortable waiving the potential conflict and wanted to, you would retain a special counsel to represent you in the negotiation of any lease that you want to enter into with Borrego.
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting that, I'm just so that we know what our options are and we can consider it, and then we'll vote on something in October.
Okay, so we'll move forward with that for the next
I
meeting.
agree with you. That
Okay,
sounds
that's fine.
reasonable.
All right,
And
so we're
we
good
have
to
it
go on
in
that?
writing, so the options that we have, and if we vote on it, then we have these options to go forward
Okay.
with. Okay.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to move on to item number 2. Consider authorizing Mayor Denine to sign RBC Wealth Management Letter, authorizing RBC Wealth Management to issue payment of $11,968.56 to Mark Huggins, Altamont Fire Department member. Payment represents 1/2 of Mr. Huggins' December 31st, 2020 account balance. Mr. Huggins is withdrawing amount accumulated in the fund, and there is no village budget impact. So could I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
All right, and Nick in second,
I'll second it.
and John, and roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor?
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 3 says, consider approval to increase limit of liability for umbrella policy to $4 million through Argonaut Insurance Company at a cost of $1,146. I did update you all that this is an increase we need for the closing on our LED lighting project that we've been working on since 2017. We're actually getting to the closing, which is very exciting. But you have to have a minimum umbrella coverage with our insurance for that transaction. Ours was not high enough, so we have to add additional insurance. I had told you it was going to cost $2,000. We found out today it was a little bit less than that, so that was good. There is no budget impact, because it is covered by, we got partial grant for our lighting project already, so the money from that grant will help pay for this, along with some other expenses we're coming into as we go along with that project. So that's what that increase is. So could I get a motion?
So moved.
John is first, and second.
I'll second.
Tressa, and roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. I'm going to go to item number 4. Consider authorizing Mayor Denine to sign shared services agreement with New York State Department of Transportation for 1 year from September 1st, 2021 to August 31st, 2022. Agreement is to share services, exchange or lend materials or equipment which shall promote and assist the maintenance of state and municipal roads and highways and provide a cost savings by maximizing the effective utilization of both parties' resources. This is something we have done before. It has not changed. It's the same agreement, but it's just renewing it, basically. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Michelle is first, and second.
I'll second.
Nick is second, and roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 5 is consider resignation of John Lance Moore, Building Inspector / Code Enforcement Officer, effective September 30th, 2021. We're sad to see Lance go. He's been with us for a few years now, but he got another position closer to home. So can I have a motion to accept that resignation, please?
So moved.
John is first, and second.
I'll second.
Michelle is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 6 on the agenda is consider hiring Gary Goss, Altamont, as a part-time building inspector code enforcement officer at a rate of pay of $30 per hour. Gary is a village resident who has been a member of our zoning board, and we're very happy that he's also a certified building inspector and a code enforcement officer. We had a series of interviews here at the village offices, and we offered the job to Gary, and we're very excited to start working with you. So I'm glad you could be here tonight. Gary is in the first row if you don't know who Gary is yet. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Michelle is first,
I'll second it.
John is second, and roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. So welcome to the job. We'll chat after.
We have an extensive resume here.
Yeah, very extensive, yes, impressive, right? Let me, what number was I just on? I apologize. 7, thank you. So with that position, though, we have to consider resignation of Gary Goss as zoning board of appeals member effective September 7th, 2021. Can I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Tressa is first, and second.
I'll second.
That was John, or was it you?
That was Nick.
It was Nick, sorry, I was not looking next sideways. That was Nick, roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine?
In favor. Item 8 on the agenda is resolution to affirm Mayor Denine's appointment of James Sullivan to the Zoning Board of Appeals member. Position was vacated by Gary Goss and has a 5-year term which expires March 2026. James Sullivan is our alternate on the ZPA currently, and he will be moving up into that position. So could I have a motion, please?
So moved?
And Nick, and second,
I'll second it.
John. And roll call, please.
Trustee Mitchellwitz?
In favor?
Trustee Ganance?
In favor.
Trustee Farrakhan?
In favor?
Trustee Scally?
In favor?
Mayor Denine.
In favor. All right, item 9. Consider resolution introducing proposed local law number 2 of 2021 to opt out of the retail dispensary license and on-site consumption license provisions of the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, New York Cannabis Law, and scheduling a public hearing on October 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. on the proposed law. So you may have heard a lot about this. I don't know if it's been in the paper. It's definitely been on the news lately. So this is something that municipalities have to opt in or opt out of. Whether we want to allow a retail dispensary license or on-site consumption businesses for this purpose, we have until the 31st if we want to opt out. Otherwise, you are in. If you opt out now, you can come back in. But if you don't, then you have to take everything the way it's presented. You have to be allowing it. And so the local law that we are proposing right now is a local law considering, for the public hearing, considering opting out, which will give us both options. So we could be out and then we can come back in. When we do come, if we opt in, if we did nothing, we would just go on our merry way. But to opt out, we do have to do it by the end of the year. And then if we decide afterwards, if we decide that people want to hear from the public, we want to hear from people coming out in October what they would like and explain to them what it actually all means. I think from this you can probably understand it, but talk a little bit about it. What money is involved, what revenue could be taken in by the village if you want to opt back in later on. We'd have to change some of our zoning code to fit with this new law, because you have to, maybe it's done by a special use permit with what provisions. We can dictate those things. So it gives us time. Our law is proposing an opt-out to give us time to, number one, hear from the public and see what you think, and then also time to change what we need to change with the code to fit New York State law. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
I think I talked in a circle.
One other thing I'd add is that the state hasn't even established rules